Today I want to talk to you a little bit about a drag rag, which is a great way to bring a buck right by your stand. I got a system that works pretty slick for me, and I'm going to tell you about it, but first I want to go back and tell you a story that illustrates how I first got interested in using scents to bring a buck in. And this took place about 40 years ago. I had just been bow hunting a few years. I really, admittedly, just really kind of didn't know what I was doing. And was just a young guy getting started, but I did know that the minute the snow stopped, I wanted to be in the woods. And it was a snowy day. We'd gotten about 6 inches. So as soon as the snow started to let up, I jumped in my truck and I rushed out to where I was hunting at that time. And that was on the side of a state park where the deer were, there were several trails. The deer were coming out of the state park and feeding in a harvested cornfield outside the park. And because there was a lot of trails along there, I was having trouble trying to figure out which trail to hunt. But this snow had just let up, and when I got there, I thought about the fact that I had to walk across all of those trails to get to the one that I had decided to hunt. And I even had to walk down a deer trail for quite a ways to get there. So just kind of as an afterthought, being a trapper, I had some fox urine in the truck. So I sprayed down my boots really good with this fox urine, and I took off through the woods and walked to where I was going to hunt, and walked down this one trail, and then I did a 90-degree turn, and I walked into the woods 15 yards and sat down on a 5-gallon bucket. I hadn't been there for maybe 10 or 15 minutes. The snow had just let up, and I heard a noise, and I turned and I looked up, and here comes a buck following my trail right where I walked through the snow with that fox urine on my boots. And this buck had his nose to the ground, and it was the first time I had ever seen a big mature buck up close, like within bow range. I drew my bow immediately, and when he got to the spot where I had turned and walked into where I was sitting on the bucket 15 yards away, he just stopped and turned and looked right at me. But by that time I was drawn, and I still remember vividly the picture in my mind of the big shoulders and the big thick neck and dark body and rack, and it was just like the first time I had ever seen a big mature buck right up close, and I was just like, oh! And I shot the deer, and then afterwards I got to tracking him a little bit, and I followed back, and he had followed my boot tracks over 100 yards, and he'd come down one of those trails and hit that scent, and he'd followed it right to me. So I got to thinking about using drag rags and so forth, and I've tried different things over the years, some with success, some without very much success, but I've settled on a system here using doe and heat lures, and I've used other types of lures, but nothing seems to work as well as a doe and heat urine mix. And like this is the Special Golden Estrus. I also use the Golden Estrus Extreme, and I'll get into this here. But there's a couple different ways that I like to do this. What really works for me is these key wicks, and what I do with these key wicks is I'll just take and put two of them together and tie them, and you can buy them in a package like this, or if you buy the lure, you get a key wick with it in these combo packets. So, but here's the system that I use, and it basically just involves a string with a loop on the end. So you can take and loop this over your boot, and then I've tied these two key wicks together, and I take these key wicks and I just dip them in the deer lure, and then I just drag them through the woods towards my stand where I'm hunting that night. And whenever I'm not using them, I just keep them in a Ziploc bag with the scent. And if you don't understand why that's important, just think about that day when I had that fox urine all over my boots, and then I got back to my truck and turned on the heater, and then you'll understand why keeping this in a Ziploc bag is pretty important. So anyway, here's the best way to do this, and that is just as soon as you get in the woods, just put this drag rag on. And you want to walk across trails, you want to turn and go down trails, walk across trails at an angle, try to get those the drag scent to go down the trail a ways, make sure the deer is going to get a chance to smell it. I walk across food plots and make a circle around my tree stand, or at the very least walk through shooting lanes before I get in the stand. This it really works. I've seen it work both on young bucks and on mature bucks, and it's something that's definitely worth a try. I would really encourage you to get out and give it a try and just see what you think, because if a deer hits this, he's going to follow it. Sometimes they won't follow it very far before they lose interest, and other times they'll follow it right to you where you can get a shot. So give it a whirl. It's a lot of fun, if nothing else, to bring deer right to you.